listening to the Alpha's Love Stories, romantic audiobooks that will make your heart race. Don't forget to subscribe for more enchanting love tales. Chapter 1. The Mark in the Snow. The wind doesn't just blow tonight, it claws. It claws through my threadbare coat with icy fingers, a constant, painful reminder that I don't belong here. I am Alara, the ghost of the Frostfang pack. The unwanted, the Omega. Behind me, the great pack house glows with warmth and life, its windows like golden eyes mocking the darkness where I stand. The scent of roasting meat and pine logs from the fireplaces twists in the air, a cruel perfume meant for others. Not for me. My own breath fogs before me, a tiny, transient cloud that vanishes as quickly as my hopes ever did. The full moon hangs above, a great, pale coin in the star-strewn velvet of the sky. It casts long, blue shadows across the snow-covered clearing where I stand alone, a solitary figure in a world of togetherness. Inside, they are celebrating the winter solstice. It's a night for strengthening bonds, for reaffirming loyalties. But those bonds have never included me. Those loyalties have always ended where I begin. A deep, familiar ache blooms beneath my ribs. It's not just the cold. It's a hollow emptiness, a feeling of being utterly disconnected. My grandmother called it the Omega's burden. She said we feel the emotional currents of the pack, the silent undercurrents no one else notices. Right now, the current I feel is a roaring river of joy and fellowship, and I am a stone on the distant bank, forever separate. I trudge away from the noise, my boots sinking into the knee-deep snow with a sound like a crushing heart. Each step is an effort, a fight against the elements and the weight of my own existence. My name is Alara, but sometimes I feel I have no name at all. I am just the Omega. My grandmother, before she left this world, held my small hands in her wrinkled ones. Her voice was a whisper of dry leaves. Alara, my child, she'd said, her eyes full of a sorrowful wisdom. Our kind, the Omegas, we are the keepers of the old soul. The Alphas lead with might, but we feel with heart. They see the path ahead, but we sense the storms on the horizon. They fear what they do not understand. Then she pressed something cold and metallic into my palm. Her silver pendant, etched with markings I could never decipher. This has protected the women of our bloodline for generations. Wear it, always. It is your anchor. The pendant hangs from my neck now, a secret weight beneath my layers of clothing. The metal is like ice against my skin, a constant, chilly reminder of her, of a legacy I can't comprehend. It is my only inheritance. Not land, not status, but this mysterious silver disc and the bloodline that has learned to survive on the fringes. I reach the shore of the frozen Serpent Lake. Its surface is a flawless sheet of black glass, mirroring the cold, brilliant moon. Here, finally, I can breathe. The air is clean and sharp, scented only of pine and frozen water. The laughter from the pack house is a distant, muffled echo. For a few precious hours, I can pretend I am not a pariah. But then, a different feeling begins to stir. It starts as a faint prickle at the base of my skull, a whisper along my nerves. It's the feeling I get when a fight is about to break out in the dining hall, or when a hunter is about to make a wrong step in the woods. A warning. Grandmother called these feelings, the whispers. She told me to never, ever ignore them. The feeling grows, humming beneath my skin like a trapped bee. The moon overhead seems to pulse, its light intensifying, focusing on me, on this very spot. I feel drawn to the pristine snow at the lake's edge. Without conscious thought, I pull off my worn gloves, ignoring the biting air that immediately nips at my fingertips. I kneel, my hands press into the snow. It's so cold it burns, but the whispers are louder now, urgent. My fingers begin to move of their own volition, tracing, digging, drawing. I am not in control. I am a vessel, an instrument. I watch, mesmerized, as a complex pattern emerges from the white canvas. Circles within circles, angular runes that look both alien and deeply familiar, and at the very center, a majestic wolf, its head thrown back in a silent, eternal howl. I don't know what any of it means. I am just the hand that makes it visible. What are you doing out here, little shadow? The voice, deep and familiar, shatters the trance. I scramble to my feet, my heart leaping into my throat. Kale, the pack enforcer. Alpha Thorin's right hand. His tall, broad-shouldered form is a dark silhouette against the snow. His presence is solid and unyielding as the ancient trees around us. Kale is different from the others. He has never joined in the taunts, never laughed at my expense. But his silence during those moments was a different kind of wound. A confirmation that even the decent ones would not stand for me. Nothing, I stammer, quickly brushing snow from my knees and positioning myself to block his view of the drawing. I needed air. He takes a step closer, and I have to fight the instinct to step back. Enforcers are second only to alphas in raw dominance. Their senses are so sharp they can hear a heartbeat skip. His eyes, the color of a winter storm, move from my face to the ground behind me. They see everything. That doesn't look like nothing. His voice is neutral, but there's a new intensity in his gaze. He moves around me, his eyes locked on the symbols in the snow. His breath catches, just slightly. Alara, where did you learn these symbols? I don't know, I whisper, the truth feeling flimsy and absurd. My hands, they just moved. The pendant beneath my clothes suddenly flares with warmth. Not a comforting warmth, but a warning burn. I gasp softly. Kale crouches down, studying the pattern with a focus that makes my blood run cold. These are ancient vows, he murmurs, more to himself than to me. Calling marks, protection sigils. No one has used these in centuries. His head snaps up, his eyes searching mine, looking for a lie, for a secret. Where did you learn them? Before I can form another feeble denial, the wind shifts. It carries a new sound. Distant howls, but not from the pack house. These are deeper, wilder, coming from the deepest, most untouched parts of the forest. The howling wilderness, a place no pack wolf dares to go. Kale's head jerks up, his body tensing like a drawn bowstring. We need to go, now. He reaches for my arm, his intent clear. But I pull away. The rejection is instinctive, born from years of isolation. I'm not welcome there, you know that. His nostrils flare as he scents the air. His face grows pale. Something is coming. Something old. You need to be behind pack walls tonight. Another howl rips through the night, closer this time. It's a sound that seems to vibrate in my very bones, low and commanding and utterly terrifying. Kale mutters a curse. The Shadowfang pack, they shouldn't be this far south. Not without a declaration of war. His eyes lock with mine, filled with a dread I have never seen in him before. Your drawing, it's a beacon. A summoning. Did you know that? No. The word bursts from me, laced with panic. I told you, I don't know what I did. The howling is a chorus now, closing in from all sides. The trees themselves seem to tremble. Kale makes a decision. We don't have time to reach the pack house. My cabin is closer. He grabs my wrist. His grip is firm, unbreakable, but not cruel. I hesitate. Being alone with any dominant wolf is dangerous for an Omega. Our dynamics are clear, and I have no pack protection. But the alternative is whatever is coming through those trees, their howls promising something far worse than humiliation. The pendant pulses once, fiercely, against my skin. A clear, undeniable signal. Okay, I whisper, the word barely audible. We move. Kale pulls me through the snow, our progress agonizingly slow. The forest is a labyrinth of shadows, and every snapping twig, every rustle of leaves, sounds like a predator. The howls are a noose tightening around us. I can feel them now, not just hear them. A pressure in the air, a primal fear that makes my wolf whimper inside me. Kale's cabin appears through. The trees, a small, sturdy structure with a wisp of smoke still curling from the chimney. He must have left in a hurry to find me. He shoves the heavy wooden door open and all but pushes me inside. Stay away from the windows, he commands, bolting the door and drawing a thick curtain across the single pane of glass. The warmth of the cabin is a shock to my system. It's sparsely furnished but clean. A fireplace crackles, casting dancing shadows across a simple bed, a table, and a surprising wall of books. I never knew Kale was a reader. It's a small, human detail that doesn't fit the image of the ruthless enforcer. I hug myself, the reality of the situation crashing down. What's happening? Why would my drawing bring wolves here? Kale adds another log to the fire, the muscles in his back rigid. Not just any wolves, Alara. He straightens, his profile sharp in the flickering light. Wild wolves. The ones who answer to no alpha. The ones who remember the magic from before the first shift. A shiver, completely separate from the cold, racks my body. That's just a story, a myth to scare pups. He turns to face me, his expression grim. Is it? Then why do the symbols you drew match the ones in this book exactly? He strides to his bookshelf and pulls down a leather-bound tome so old the cover is cracked and peeling. He opens it with reverence, and my heart stops. There, on the yellowed page, is my drawing. The same circles, the same runes, the same howling wolf. I don't understand, I breathe, my voice trembling. I've never seen this book in my life. Yet you reproduced this page perfectly. His tone isn't accusatory now. It's filled with a bewildered awe. He reads from the text, his voice low. It says here, these marks call the Sylvan Sentinels when an omega of the true bloodline stands in peril. When the balance is broken. Outside, the howling stops. Abruptly, the sudden silence is more terrifying than the noise. Cale goes still, his head tilted, listening to something far beyond my human hearing. Moon above, he whispers, his face ashen. They're here, they've surrounded the cabin. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic bird in a cage of bone. What do they want? His stormy eyes meet mine, and in them, I see the answer. You, Alara, they've come for you. A loud crack against the window makes us both jump. Then another, something large, is throwing itself against the glass. The pendant at my throat burns, searing my skin. I cry out, clutching at it through my clothes. Stay back, Cale warns, shifting to stand between me and the window. His body is already changing, his canines elongating, claws tipping his fingers. The beta form, deadly, but the pendant is a brand. I can't bear it. Without thinking, I yank it out from under my sweater, letting it hang in the open. The silver gleams in the firelight, its ancient engraving seeming to writhe and dance. The moment it is exposed, the assault on the window ceases. The silence returns, thick and heavy. Cale stares at the pendant, his partial shift receding. Alara, what is that? Before I can answer, a voice speaks. It does not come from outside. It blooms directly inside my mind, ancient and resonant, like the sound of a mountain shifting. Daughter of the first snow, we have answered your call. I gasp, stumbling back against the wall. Did you hear that? I choke out. Cale's confused look is answer enough. He heard nothing. The voice comes again, filling the quiet spaces of my soul. The pack has broken the covenant. The Omega's place is sacred. We have come to restore the balance. There's a voice, I whisper to Cale, my eyes wide with terror and wonder. In my head, it's talking about covenants and balance. Cale moves closer, his body still poised for a fight. What else is it saying? I listen, translating the words that flow into my mind. Open the door, child of winter. We mean no harm to you, or to the guardian who shelters you. My legs move without my command. The pendant is pulling me forward, a magnetic force drawing me to whatever awaits outside. To my destiny. Alara, stop. Cale grabs my shoulders, his grip tight. You don't know what's out there. You don't know what they are. I look up at him, at the genuine fear in his eyes, and a strange calm settles over me. I think I do. With a strength I didn't know I possessed, I slip from his grasp. My hand finds the heavy iron bolt on the door. I look back at Cale one last time, seeing the conflict raging in him, duty, fear, and a flicker of something else. Something like protectiveness. Then, I pull the bolt back. The door swings open, and I see them. 30 pairs of eyes glow in the darkness, reflecting the moonlight like liquid silver. 30 massive wolves, their fur so white it seems to generate its own light, sit in a perfect, silent circle around the cabin. They are larger than any wolf I have ever seen, emanating an aura of immense age and power. The largest of them, with eyes the color of a glacial lake, rises and approaches. It moves with an impossible grace, its power a palpable force. Cale growls, a low, threatening rumble, but the great white wolf ignores him completely. Its mesmerizing blue gaze is fixed only on me, and on the pendant that hangs from my neck. The voice in my mind returns, softer now, almost reverent. The bloodline endures. We have watched. We have waited. The Frostfang pack has forgotten the old laws. They have forgotten why the Omega is sacred. I stand there, a rejected girl on the threshold, facing the living embodiment of myth. The world I knew is gone. The rules have changed, and it all started with a single, desperate mark in the snow. Chapter 2. The voice of the ancients. The world has shrunk to this single, terrifying point. To the glacial blue eyes of the sentinel leader, to the weight of the pendant against my collarbone, to the solid, warm presence of Kale at my back, poised for a fight he cannot possibly win. The cold night air is motionless, as if the very forest is holding its breath. The 30 sylvan sentinels are so still they could be carved from moonlight and ice. There is no sound, not even the rustle of a leaf or the call of a night bird. They have silenced the world around us. I am frozen on the cabin's threshold, caught between the warmth I've just left and the impossible reality I now face. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs, so loud I'm sure the ancient wolves can hear it. This is not a dream. The chill seeping through my thin clothes is real. The searing warmth of the pendant is real. The voice in my mind is devastatingly real. Do not fear, daughter of the first snow. The voice is like the deep hum of the earth itself, resonating in my bones rather than my ears. We are not your enemy. We are your legacy. I can't speak. My throat is sealed shut by awe and terror. I can only stare, my mind reeling. My legacy is one of whispered insults and turned backs. My legacy is a lonely cot in a drafty hallway and meals eaten alone. It is not, this. Kale's hand finds the small of my back, a steadying pressure. Alara, he murmurs, his voice low and tense. What's happening? He spoke to me again, I whisper, my own voice sounding thin and childlike. He says they are my legacy. The great white wolf takes another step forward, and now I can see the intricate patterns like frost ferns traced in his brilliant white fur. He is close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the scent of ancient pine and clean, cold stone. The one who guards you has a loyal heart, but he does not yet see. You must be our voice, child. You must be the bridge. I swallow hard, forcing the words out. He says, you have a loyal heart. But that I must be their voice. Kale's gaze flicks from me to the wolf and back again, his brow furrowed in concentration. Ask them what they want. Truly, I take a shaky breath, addressing the wolf directly. What do you want from me? Why have you come? The wolf's head tilts slightly. The covenant, forged when the first human soul touched the wolf spirit, has been shattered. The 3 pillars of the pack, strength, loyalty, and wisdom, have fallen. The Alpha seeks only power. The betas follow without question. And the Omega, his blue eyes seem to pierce right through me, seeing all the Lonel. Why years, all the silent tears. The Omega, the keeper of wisdom, the heart of the pack, has been cast out. A pack cannot survive with a broken heart. A shiver that has nothing to do with the cold racks my body. Wisdom, heart of the pack, the words are so foreign, so opposite to everything I have been told my entire life. Omegas are weak, we are the least, we are the burden, that's not what I am, I stammer, my voice breaking. I'm nothing, I'm nobody. A low, soft chuffing sound comes from the wolf, a sound that feels like pity. You have been taught a lie, little one. Your sensitivity, your intuition, the deep empathy you feel, these are not weaknesses. They are the oldest magic of our kind. They are the gifts of the Omega. The pack's strength is brittle without them. Its spirit is dying. Tears I didn't know I was holding back well in my eyes, blurring the magnificent creature before me. For so long, I have hated this part of myself. This part that feels everything too deeply, that flinches at raised voices, that senses the hidden sadness in others. To hear it called a gift, it feels like a crack of light in a prison I have lived in my entire life. Alara, Kale's voice is softer now, filled with a dawning understanding. What is he saying? I try to translate, my voice thick with emotion. He says the pack is broken. That the covenant is shattered. That alphas, betas, and omegas are meant to be 3 pillars. He says what I am is not a weakness. It is wisdom. The last word comes out as a sob. Kale is silent for a long moment. I can feel his gaze on me, and when I risk a glance at him, the look on his face is not one of disbelief or mockery. It is one of profound, shocking revelation. The old stories, he murmurs, almost to himself. The triad of leadership. I thought it was just a fable. He looks at the sentinel, his defensive posture easing slightly. Ask him what happens now. The sentinel leader answers before I can even form the question. Now, the balance must be restored. The Frostfang pack must remember. They must honor the covenant once more. And if they refuse, the question slips from my lips, a fearful whisper. The air around the sentinels seems to grow colder, sharper. The silence becomes heavy, oppressive. Then the bond that allows your people to wear the wolfskin will fade. It is a magic we gifted, and it is a magic we can reclaim. Within 3 generations, your children will be human, their inner wolves nothing but a forgotten dream. A gasp escapes me. The horror of that threat is absolute. To lose the wolf, it is the core of who we are. It is our strength, our family, our soul. It is a fate worse than death for any shifter. Kale must see the sheer terror on my face. Alara, what is it? Ays. My voice trembles violently. He says if the pack refuses to honor the covenant, the shift will fade. Our grandchildren will be human. Kale pales, his stormy eyes widening. All the fight drains out of him, replaced by a grim, chilling comprehension. This is no longer about one rejected girl. This is about the survival of our entire way of life. The choice is not yours to make, daughter of winter, the sentinel's voice continues, gentler now. It is the Alpha's, but you are the catalyst. You are the living proof of what they have forgotten. You must return to them. We will accompany you. Return. The word is a shock. Now, in the middle of the night, the moon is our witness. The time for hiding is over. Panic flares in my chest. To go back to the pack house now, surrounded by these mythical beasts. Alpha Thorin will see it as an act of war. He will see it as a challenge to his authority. There will be chaos. There will be violence. I breathe, taking an involuntary step back into the cabin. Thorin, he'll never listen. He'll see it as a threat. It is a reminder, the sentinel corrects, his tone unwavering. A reminder of a debt owed to the past, for the sake of the future. Do you think we would have answered the call of one who is truly weak? You drew the mark of summoning. You wear the pendant of the first Omega. The strength is already within you, Alara. You need only to find it. His words land not as a pressure, but as a strange kind of liberation. For the first time, my fear is mingled with a spark of something else. Something fierce and defiant. This wolf, this ancient, powerful being, believes in me more than my own pack ever has. More than I have ever believed in myself. I look at Kale. His expression is unreadable, a mask of an enforcer processing an impossible situation. But his eyes are on me. And in him, I don't see pity. I see respect. I see a question. He is waiting for my decision. The golden thread I felt in the vision, the connection between us, seems to pull taut. He will follow my lead. The realization is as terrifying as the sentinels outside. I close my eyes for a moment, my fingers closing around the warm silver of my pendant. I think of my grandmother's face. I think of all the times I bowed my head and accepted my lot. I think of the shadows I saw clinging to the younger pack members, the unhappiness festering beneath the surface of our so-called strength. This is bigger than my fear. This is bigger than me. I open my eyes and meet the glacial blue gaze of the sentinel leader. My voice, when it comes, is clear and steady, no longer a whisper. We will go. A ripple moves through the circle of white wolves, a silent acknowledgement. The leader dips his massive head in a regal bow. Kale lets OU. Ta long, slow breath. Then we go together. He moves to my side, his shoulder brushing mine. But we do this smartly. We approach with caution. I will do the talking initially. I nod, grateful for his presence, for his steady mind in this maelstrom of magic and fear. But I know, deep in my soul, that when the time comes, it will be my voice that needs to speak. The bridge must bear the weight. We step out of the cabin fully, into the circle of the Sylvan Sentinels. They rise in unison, a movement so fluid and synchronized it feels like a single entity. They part before us, creating a path that leads back toward the heart of the pack territory. The walk begins. The sentinels fall into a formation around us, their massive, silent forms gliding over the snow without leaving a single paw print. They are ghosts of the forest, legends made flesh. The only sound is the crunch of our boots and the frantic beating of my heart. We haven't gone far when the first patrol finds us. Two beaters, Reese and Finn, emerge from the trees, their eyes glowing amber in the darkness. They are in half shift, claws extended. Kale, what in the moon's name is? Reese's words die in his throat as his eyes land on the sentinels. His jaw drops open. Finn takes a stumbling step back, a low growl of pure instinctive fear rumbling in his chest. Stand down, Kale commands, his enforcer voice ringing with authority. We are under the protection of the Sylvan Sentinels. We need to speak with Alpha Thorin. Now. The what? Finn stammers, his eyes wide as saucers, darting between the terrifying wolves and my face. Alara, what is this? I don't get a chance to answer. The Sentinel leader takes a single step forward, and the two beaters shrink back, their dominance completely overwhelmed by the ancient power radiating from him. The White Guardians have returned to the Frostfang Pack, the voice echoes in my mind, and I repeat the words aloud, my voice gaining strength with each syllable. We come under the ancient rite of admonishment. Lead us to your Alpha. The formality, the ancient term, does the trick. Reese and Finn exchange a look of sheer, unadulterated terror. They have no protocol for this. No training. They are facing a living myth, and it has chosen to speak through the pack's outcast. Reese gives a jerky nod. This way, he chokes out, turning to lead us, his body tense with fear. The news travels faster than we do. By the time we reach the edge of the main compound, a crowd has begun to gather. Pack members spill from their homes, their faces a mixture of sleep, confusion, and then, as they see us, utter shock. Murmurs turn into cries of alarm. Children are snatched up and hurried inside. Doors slam shut, but they cannot look away. They watch, mesmerized and horrified. As our strange procession moves through the heart of the territory, the rejected Omega, the trusted enforcer, and an escort of 30 mythical wolves that should not exist. The pack house looms ahead, its doors thrown open. Light spills out, illuminating the figures standing on the porch. Alpha Thorin, his massive frame bristling with fury. Beside him, Lyanna, her beautiful face a mask of cold, calculating hatred as her eyes lock onto me. And flanking him, the members of the Pack Council, their expressions ranging from fear to outright hostility. We stop at the edge of the clearing, the sentinels forming a silent, glowing half-moon behind us. The air crackles with tension. The entire pack seems to be holding its breath. Alpha Thorin's voice booms across the space, laced with a rage I have never heard before. Kale, explain this treachery. You bring these creatures into our territory. You stand beside this nobody. Kale takes a step forward, but I place a hand on his arm, stopping him. The pendant is warm against my skin, humming with power. The sentinel's voice whispers in my mind. Now, heart of the pack. Now, you speak. This is it, the point of no return. I lift my chin. I meet the Alpha's furious gaze. And when I speak, my voice does not shake. It carries, clear and strong, across the silent, waiting pack. Alpha Thorin, I say, and every soul present hears me. I am Alara of the Winterborn line. And I am not a nobody. Chapter 3, The Heart of the Pack Silence. It's a physical thing, heavy and sharp, pressing down on the clearing after my words fade. Every eye is nailed to me. I can feel the weight of their stares, the shock, the confusion, the simmering anger. My heart is a wild thing trying to beat its way out of my chest, but on the outside, I am still. The pendant against my skin is a steady, warm anchor, a silent river of strength flowing into my veins. For the first time in my life, I am not trying to make myself smaller. I am standing my ground. Alpha Thorin's face is a thundercloud. His broad chest swells with a sharp, angry breath. Winterborn? He scoffs, the name a curse on his lips. That line died out with your grandmother. And you are an Omega. You are nothing but a drain on this pack's resources, a weakness we have been forced to tolerate. Beside him, Lyanna's lips curl into a venomous smile. Her eyes, the color of dark honey, sweep over me with disdain. This is a pathetic grab for attention, girl. A clever trick with trained animals. Did Kale help you with this little performance? Her gaze flicks to Kale, dripping with accusation. Kale doesn't flinch. He stands beside me, a solid wall of resolve. What you see is no trick, Liana. I witnessed the summoning myself. These are the Sylvan Sentinels. They speak to Alara. They have come because the covenant has been broken. A wave of murmurs ripples through the gathered pack. The word, covenant, is spoken in hushed, bewildered tones. The older members shift uneasily, their eyes wide with a dawning, fearful recognition. The younger ones just look confused. Covenant, Thorin barks a harsh laugh. You speak of children's stories, enforcer. There is no covenant, there is only pack law. My law, and my law states that no strange wolf enters our territory without my leave. His voice rises to a roar, his alpha power rolling out over the clearing, a wave of pure dominance meant to force submission. It hits me like a physical blow, the instinct to lower my eyes, to bare my throat, to whimper. It is a primal command etched into the soul of every wolf. My knees tremble, but as the wave of his power crashes over me, the pendant flares, a brilliant, silent pulse of silver light that spreads from my chest, enveloping me in a calm, unassailable bubble. The pressure vanishes. I do not look away. I do not bow. The shock on Thorin's face is priceless. His dominance has never failed him. Not with a beta, certainly not with an omega. The Sentinel leader takes a single, fluid step forward. He doesn't growl. He doesn't bare his teeth. He simply looks at Thorin, and the Alpha takes an involuntary step back. The ancient wolf's voice fills my mind, calm and inexorable. He rules through fear, not respect. Show him the truth, daughter of winter. Show them all. It is no story, Alpha, I say, my voice ringing with a clarity that surprises even me. I raise a hand, not in threat, but in invitation. The covenant is the foundation upon which the first pack was built. It is the balance of strength, loyalty, and wisdom. You have honored strength alone. You have forgotten the rest. Thorin's eyes blaze with fury. I have led this pack to prosperity. To power. Our territory has expanded. Our enemies fear us. And what of the pack itself? I counter, the words flowing through me, guided by an intuition that is no longer just my own. I let my gaze sweep over the crowd, meeting the eyes of those I have lived alongside in silence for years. I see Marta, the cook, whose son was punished for showing kindness to a wounded bird. I see young Liam, who stutters when spoken to by his superiors, his confidence shattered by constant ridicule. I see the shadows in their eyes, the same shadows I have carried for so long. What of the spirits you have crushed in the name of strength? My voice softens, but it carries further, a whisper that cuts deeper than Thorin's roar. What of the creativity you have stifled? The empathy you have punished? A pack is not a fortress, Alpha. It is a living, breathing entity. And you have been starving its heart. Liana steps forward, her beauty sharp and predatory. Enough of this. You speak pretty words, but they are empty. You have no proof of this so-called covenant. You have no right to stand there and judge your Alpha. The proof is in the bond, the Sentinel's voice whispers. Show them the truth they feel in their own hearts. I close my eyes for a moment, focusing. The pendant's warmth spreads through me, and I reach out with my senses, with that part of me I have always been taught to hide. The Omega's gift. I feel for the threads that connect the pack, the invisible web of loyalties, fears, and affections. And I speak what I feel. You, Liana, I say, opening my eyes to look at her. You whisper in the Alpha's ear that Beta Rowan is too ambitious, that his success in the hunt makes the other enforcers look bad. You sow discord to secure your own position, because you are terrified of being seen as unnecessary. Of being replaced. Liana's face goes bone white. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. The truth of my words is written in her stunned silence. My gaze moves to a hulking beta named Gregor. You bully the younger wolves, Gregor, because your own father told you that you were not strong enough to be an enforcer. You carry his shame and you spread it to others. Gregor flinches as if struck, his bravado crumbling in an instant. I look at a young she-wolf named Anya, who hides her talent for healing because it is not considered a strong skill. Anya, I say gently. The pack needs your hands. Do not hide your gift any longer. Tears well in her eyes, and she gives me a tiny, trembling nod. I am not reading minds. I am reading souls. I am feeling the emotional currents of the pack, the hidden pains and secret shames that everyone feels but no one dares to name. And as I speak them aloud, a powerful shift occurs in the clearing. The anger and suspicion begin to melt away, replaced by a stunned, vulnerable awe. I turn my attention back to Alpha Thorin. His fury is still there, but it is now mixed with a dawning, horrifying comprehension. He is watching his pack, his loyal followers, see truths about themselves and about his leadership that he has worked hard to keep buried. This is witchcraft, he snarls, but his voice lacks its former conviction. It is truth, Kale says, his voice strong and sure. He gestures to the silent, watching sentinels. And it is a truth they have borne witness to for centuries. They are not here to destroy us, Thorin. They are here to save us from ourselves. An elder, a woman with long silver hair and wise, tired eyes, steps forward from the crowd. Maeve, the pack historian, her gaze is not on Thorin, but on the sentinel leader, filled with a reverence I have never seen directed at anyone but the Alpha. The stories are true, she whispers, her voice trembling with emotion. I have spent my life studying the oldest texts. The Triad, the Covenant of Balance, the Sylvan Sentinels, the Guardians of the Wild Magic. She turns to Thorin, her expression pleading. My Alpha, you must listen. This is not a challenge to your authority. It is a plea for our very survival as a people. To ignore this is to risk everything. Thorin looks from Maeve's earnest face, to Kale's resolute one, to the stunned and now thoughtful expressions of his pack. He looks at the 30 ancient wolves whose silent judgment is more powerful than any shouted accusation. Finally, his gaze lands on me, and for a fleeting second, I see not the powerful Alpha, but a man who is terrified that the foundation of his entire world is crumbling beneath his feet. What, he grinds out, the words sounding torn from him, would you have me do? The sentinel's voice is clear in my mind. The first step is acknowledgement. The second is integration. I take a deep breath. The hardest part is over. Now, the real work begins. You will acknowledge the covenant before the entire pack, I say, my tone leaving no room for argument. It is not a request. You will acknowledge that the role of the Omega is sacred and essential. And you will grant me a seat on the pack council, not as a subordinate, but as an equal voice in guiding our future. A collective gasp sweeps through the crowd. An Omega on the council. It is unheard of. It is revolutionary. Thorin's jaw works. The struggle is visible on his face, pride warring with the undeniable evidence of a power he cannot comprehend or defeat. Lyanna finds her voice, a sharp, desperate cry. Thorin, no, you cannot. This is an outrage. But Thorin ignores her. His eyes are locked with mine. The silence stretches, taut as a bowstring. The fate of the Frostfang pack hangs in this single, breathless moment. Finally, he gives a single, sharp nod. It is the barest dip of his chin, but it is enough. The council will convene at dawn, he says, his voice hoarse. You will, state your case. He turns on his heel and stalks back into the pack house, the set of his shoulders defeated. Lyanna shoots me a look of pure, undiluted hatred before following him. The spell breaks. The pack erupts into a cacophony of voices, excited, fearful, arguing, wondering. They look at me now not with contempt, but with a bewildering mix of fear, curiosity, and something that looks disturbingly like hope. Kale moves to my side, his presence a steadying force. You did it, he murmurs, his voice filled with awe. No, I say, watching the dispersing crowd, feeling the weight of what is to come settle on my shoulders. This was just the beginning. The real challenge starts at dawn. The Sylvan Sentinels Rima. In their circle, a silent, glowing promise in the night. They have borne witness. The heart of the pack has begun to beat again. But whether it will beat in harmony or tear itself apart, that remains to be seen. Chapter 4. The Council of Dawn arrives not with gentle colors, but with a sharp, brittle light that seems to expose every crack in our world. I did not sleep. I spent the night in the small guest cabin, the silence pressed in around me, broken only by the memory of 100 staring eyes and the phantom echo of my own voice claiming a power I still don't understand. The pendant is quiet now, a cool weight against my skin, but the memory of its warmth, of the ancient voice in my mind, is branded onto my soul. Kale is already waiting for me outside, his face etched with the same weary vigilance I feel. The sylvan sentinels are gone, melted back into the forest like morning mist, but their presence is a tangible pressure in the air. We all know they are watching. The council is gathering, Kale says quietly. His grey eyes scan my face, and I know he sees the exhaustion, the fear. They're unsettled. I imagine they are, I reply, my voice rough from lack of sleep. I'm unsettled. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. You stood before the entire pack and an army of mythical wolves and didn't flinch. I'd say you're the most settled person here. His faith is a small, warm ember in my chest. I cling to it as we walk toward the council lodge. The pack grounds are unnaturally quiet. Those we pass stop what they are doing to watch us, their expressions unreadable. There are no jeers, no muttered insults. Just a heavy, waiting silence. It is, in its own way, more terrifying than the open hostility I am used to. The council lodge is a circular building of aged timber and stone, the heart of pack governance. Inside, the air is thick with tension and the scent of old wood and anxiety. The council members are already seated around the large, circular oak table. Alpha Thorin sits at the northern point, his massive frame radiating a simmering, controlled anger. Liana is to his right, her posture rigid, her beautiful face a cold, perfect mask. To his left are the other senior members, the hulking head of security, Nikolai, the master hunter, Rorik, and Elder Maeve, her wise eyes looking tired but alert. The remaining seats are filled by other influential beaters. There is one empty chair. It has been placed directly opposite Thorin. For me, every conversation dies as Kale and I enter. All eyes turn to us. Kale guides me to the empty chair, and I sit, feeling the hardwood beneath me, a stark contrast to the fragile wicker seat in the kitchen corner where I usually eavesdrop on these meetings. Kale takes his place standing behind me, a silent decal. A ration of allegiance that does not go unnoticed. Liana's eyes narrow to slits. Thorin leans forward, his knuckles white where they grip the edge of the table. The council is convened, he says, his voice a low rumble. We are here to discuss the events of last night. And the claims that were made. He spits the last word like a piece of rotten meat. He looks at me, his gaze a challenge. You have demanded a voice, Alara. You have it. Speak. For a moment, the fear returns, a cold wave threatening to drown me. The faces around the table are hard, skeptical, hostile. These are the wolves who have upheld the law that kept me beneath their boots. But then I feel it, not the pendant's magic, but my own. The deep, quiet well of empathy that has always been my curse. I can feel their fear, too. Thorin's fear of losing control. Liana's fear of irrelevance. Nikolai's fear of the unknown. They are just as terrified as I am. I take a slow breath, letting my hands rest flat on the table. I am not here to demand power for myself, I begin, my voice quieter than it was last night, but no less clear. I am here because the Sylvan Sentinels showed me that our pack is sick. We are a body that has been using only one arm, while letting the other wither away. We celebrate strength, but we punish compassion. We reward aggression, but we mock creativity. We have become unbalanced, and an unbalanced pack cannot thrive. It can only fracture. Rorik, the hunter, scoffs. Sick, we are the strongest pack in this territory. Our hunts are successful. Our borders are secure. What sickness? The sickness of the spirit, I say, looking directly at him. How many young wolves have left our pack in the last few years, Rorik? Talented trackers, swift runners. They didn't leave because we were weak. They left because they were unhappy. Because they felt there was no place for them here unless they fit into a very narrow, very brutal idea of what a wolf should be. Rorik's confident expression falters. He cannot deny the truth of the exodus. It is a sensitive, rarely spoken of topic. This is sentimentality, Liana cuts in, her voice like shards of ice. A pack is not a nursery. It is a weapon. It must be sharp, hard, and lethal. Your compassion, would make us soft. It would get us killed. Would it? I turned to her. Did compassion get Beta Liam killed on the northern ridge last autumn? A shocked silence falls. Liam's death is a raw, painful wound. He was caught in a rock slide. What are you implying? Thorin growls. I'm not implying. I'm remembering, I say softly, the memory surfacing with crystal clarity, guided by my Omega's intuition. Liam was assigned to a patrol with Gregor. The day before, Gregor had mocked him relentlessly for his stutter, in front of the entire warrior cadre. Liam's focus was shattered. His spirit was bruised. He was so busy trying to prove he wasn't weak, he didn't notice the loose shale underfoot. A pack that valued wisdom and care for its members would have addressed that cruelty. A pack that values only raw strength let it fester. And we lost a good wolf because of it. Nikolai, the security chief, shifts uncomfortably. He was in charge of that patrol assignment. He remembers. You cannot blame his death on us. Lyanna snaps, but her voice lacks its earlier conviction. I blame it on the imbalance, I say, my gaze sweeping the table. I blame it on a system that sees empathy as a flaw. The Omega's role, the role my bloodline was meant to hold, is to be the pack's heart. To sense these undercurrents. To heal these fractures before they become fatal. Not just physically, but emotionally. A strong arm is useless if the body it's attached to is dying of a fever. Elder Maeve finally speaks, her voice gentle but firm. The old texts support this. The Omega was the mediator, the advisor, the keeper of law and lineage. They soothed conflicts before they turned violent. They ensured the well-being of the young and the old. They were the moral compass of the pack. She looks at Thorin. My alpha, we have been navigating with a broken compass for a long, long time. Thorin is silent, his eyes fixed on the grain of the wood table. The anger is still there, but it is now warring with something else, the dawning, grudging acceptance of a truth he can no longer ignore. What would you have us do, then? He asks again, but this time the question is not a challenge. It is a genuine, weary inquiry. Overturn centuries of tradition overnight. No, I say, but we can take the first step. I propose we form a new council. A triad, Alpha, Beta, and Omega, working in concert. You, Thorin, remain the Alpha. Your word on matters of defense, territory, and law is final. But on matters affecting the pack's spirit, its well-being, its internal harmony, my voice carries equal weight. And a Beta, chosen for his fairness and loyalty, will bridge our perspectives. I glance back at Kale. I nominate Kale for this role. The room erupts. Preposterous. Lyanna cries. This undermines the Alpha's authority completely. Rorik shouts. Thorin slams his fist on the table. Enough. The room falls silent. Thorin's chest heaves. He looks from my face to Kale's, to the furious face of his mate, to the thoughtful one of Elder Maeve. He is trapped. The Sylvan Sentinels have backed him into a corner, and I have presented the only way out that doesn't lead to the annihilation of our way of life. The threat of the Sentinels is real, he says, his voice low and gravelly. I cannot ignore it, but this triad. He aches his head, as if trying to clear it of a bad dream. It is too much, too fast. Then let us start smaller, I say, seizing the opening. A trial period. For one full cycle of the moon, my voice will be heard on the council. Kale will act as the mediating Beta. We will work together on 3 specific issues: the mentoring of our younger members, the care for our elders, and the mediation of internal conflicts. After the moon cycle, the council can vote on whether to make the triad permanent. It is a compromise, a fragile, tentative one, but it is a start. Thorin looks around the table. He sees that while some are still resistant, others, like Maeve and even the pragmatic Nikolai, are considering it. The fear of the Sentinels is a powerful motivator. One moon cycle, Thorin says, the words sounding like they are being dragged from him. A trial, nothing more. He fixes me with a hard stare. Do not make me regret this, Alara. The meeting dissolves into a buzz of frantic discussion. I remain seated, my legs feeling weak. I have done it. I have secured a place at the table. But as I look at Thorin's resentful expression and Lyanna's venomous glare, I know this is not a victory. It is a declaration of a different kind of war. A quieter, more dangerous one, fought with politics and poisoned words instead of claws and teeth. The real battle for the soul of the Frostfang pack begins now. Chapter 5, The First Fracture. The weight of the title is heavier than I ever imagined. Omega of the Frostfang pack. For a week, the words have echoed in the silence of my new quarters, a small, clean room in the main lodge, a world away from my old drafty corner. It comes with a door that locks, a window that looks out on the forest, and a profound, terrifying loneliness. I am no longer invisible. Every move I make is watched, every word I utter is dissected. The open contempt has been replaced by a wary, simmering resentment. I am a symbol of change, and change is never welcomed by everyone. My first official act, in consultation with Kale and the reluctant Alpha Thorin, was to establish a mentorship program for the pack's youth. It seemed like an uncontroversial starting point. I was wrong. I stand now at the edge of the training grounds, watching the usual drills. Beta Gregor, his ego still bruised from my public revelation of his insecurities, is in charge. He has a group of teenagers, both boys and girls, running brutal laps, their faces flushed and streaked with sweat and dirt. "Faster, you lazy whelps," he barks, his voice cracking like a whip. "Do you think our enemies will let you catch your breath? Strength is the only language they understand." One of the younger boys, Finn's son, stumbles, his legs giving way. He collapses onto the frosty ground, gasping foe. Air. Gregor storms over, looming over the trembling boy. "Get up," he snarls. "Your father was a warrior. Don't you dare shame his memory by lying in the dirt like a worm." The boy flinches, tears of exhaustion and humiliation mixing with the sweat on his cheeks. I feel his shame as if it were my own, a sharp, hot sting. This is the old way. The way of breaking spirits to build strength. I can't stand by. That's enough, Gregor. My voice is calm, but it carries across the field. All activity stops. The teenagers stare, their eyes wide. Gregor turns slowly, his face a mask of contempt. "This is warrior training, Omega," he spits the title like an insult. "It is not your domain. Stick to your feelings." A few of the older teens snicker, their loyalty to the old hierarchy momentarily overriding their fear. Kale, who had been observing from a distance, moves to stand beside me. His presence is a silent warning. The Omega has authority in matters of pack well-being, Gregor. That includes the training of our youth. Their well-being is to be strong enough to survive. Gregor retorts, but he takes a half-step back under Kale's steady gaze. It is, I agree, walking forward until I am standing beside the fallen boy. I offer him a hand. He looks at it, then at Gregor, terrified. But strength comes in many forms. It is not just muscle and speed. It is endurance. It is resilience. It is the intelligence to know your own limits and the wisdom to push them safely. I look at the boy. "What is your name?" "Kalen," he stammers, finally taking my hand and letting me help him up. "Kalen," I repeat softly. "There is no shame in reaching your limit. The shame is in a teacher who cannot see it." I turn my gaze back to Gregor. From now on, training will include sessions on tracking, wilderness medicine, and strategy. And it will be overseen by a rotation of instructors, not just you. Gregor's face purples with rage. "You cannot." "I can," I interrupt, my voice gaining a steely edge I didn't know I possessed. "The Triad has decreed it. This is not a discussion. The silence on the training ground is absolute. I have just publicly stripped a senior beta of his absolute authority. I have drawn a line in the sand. The teenagers are watching me, and in their eyes, I see something new. Not just fear, but a flicker of hope." As Gregor storms away, shooting me a look of pure venom, Kale murmurs, "That will have consequences." "I know," I whisper, my bravado fading, replaced by a cold dread. But what was the alternative? Let him break that boy's spirit. Kale doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. We both know the alternative was to do nothing, to be a figurehead. And that is a role I refuse to play. The backlash is not long in coming. That evening, as I walk to the Great Hall for the evening meal, the atmosphere is different. The wary silence has hardened into something colder. People turn their backs as I pass. My usual isolated table now feels like an island in a sea of hostility. When I go to serve myself from the stew pot, Marta the cook, who has always given me a sympathetic, if pitying, smile, will not meet my eyes. She slops the stew into my bowl, the liquid sloshing over the sides. It seems my presence is still ruining everyone's appetite, I say quietly, trying to inject a little warmth. Her eyes flick to mine for a second, filled with a strange, fearful anger. You're stirring a pot that doesn't need stirring, girl. We had order. Now there's nothing but trouble. She turns her back on me abruptly. The words sting more than any direct insult, because they ring with a terrible truth. I have disrupted the order. I have brought trouble. I carry my bowl back to my lonely table, the food tasting like ash in my mouth. Later, as I retreat to my room, I find a dead rat lying on my doorstep, its neck broken. A clear, primitive message. A wave of nausea washes over me. This is not the intellectual resistance of the council. This is raw, visceral hatred. A shadow detaches itself from the corridor. Kale. He looks down at the dead creature, his expression grim. I'll have it removed, he says, his voice tight. It's not the rat that's the problem, I say, my voice trembling despite my best efforts. It's the sentiment. I've stationed a guard at this end of the hallway, he says. You won't be disturbed. I look up at him, the isolation feeling like a physical chill. Is this how it's always going to be, Kale? 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Every attempt to help met with fear and hatred. He steps closer, his grey eyes searching my face. You're asking them to tear down a house they've lived in their entire lives and build a new one, all while a storm is raging outside. It's messy, it's frightening, and some would rather die in the old, crumbling house than risk the new one. He reaches out, his hand hesitating for a moment before he gently brushes a stray strand of hair from my face. The contact is electric, a spark of warmth in the cold darkness. But you're not alone in the storm, Alara. Remember that. The golden thread between us pulls taut, a tangible force in the charged air. His faith is my anchor. But as he walks away, leaving me with the silent, grim-faced guard, I can't shake the feeling that the storm is only just beginning. The first fracture has appeared in the pack's foundation. And I am the one who swung the hammer. Chapter 6. The poisoned well. The dead rat was only the beginning. The following days settle into a cold, silent war. My mentorship program begins, but only a handful of shyest, most often bullied children show up. The others, fearing the backlash from their parents and peers, stay away. My presence at the council is tolerated, but my suggestions are met with stiff nods and immediate, subtle counter-arguments, usually led by Liana. She has become the quiet, elegant voice of the opposition, her words honeyed poison that reinforces Thorin's doubts without ever directly challenging me. The pack is dividing, and the fissure runs right through the dining hall, the training grounds, and even families. I feel the schism like a constant, low-grade ache in my own soul. The Omega's burden has never felt heavier. The tension finds its flashpoint over something seemingly small, the well. A young she-wolf, Lyra, collapses during a patrol. She is feverish, weak, her skin pale. The pack's usual healer, a gruff old beater named Boren, diagnoses a simple spring chill and prescribes rest. But something feels wrong to me. Deeply wrong. It's a prickle at the back of my neck, a sour note in the harmony of the pack that only I can hear. I visit Lyra in the healing ward. The room smells of herbs and sickness. Her breathing is shallow. I place a hand on her forehead, and a jolt, like a static shock, runs up my arm. It's not a chill. It's a poisoning. Slow, subtle, but unmistakable. What has she eaten? Drunk? I ask Boren, my voice urgent. He scowls, offended, the same as everyone else. Stew from the great hall, water from the central well. It is a chill, Omega. Nothing more. Do not use your feelings to undermine my craft. But the feeling is too strong to ignore. I go to the central well, the primary water source for the entire pack. I lean over the stone rim, peering into the dark water below. Nothing looks amiss, but the prickle intensifies. I lower a bucket and bring it up, cupping the water in my hands. I don't drink it, I just hold it, closing my eyes, reaching out with my senses. And then I smell it. Faint, almost completely masked by the scent of wet stone and earth. Wolfsbane, not enough to kill quickly, but enough to weaken, to cause lingering illness, to sow fear and discord. My blood runs cold. This is not an accident. This is deliberate. I find Kale and drag him to the well, explaining my discovery in a hushed, frantic whisper. His face hardens immediately. Are you certain? As certain as I am of my own name, I insist, my heart pounding. Someone is poisoning the pack. We go straight to Alpha Thorin. He is in his study, going over maps with Nikolai. When I tell him, his initial reaction is disbelief, then anger, but it's directed at me. Poison, in our well, preposterous, he booms. This is more of your hysteria, Alara. You see threats in shadows because you are unused to the light of responsibility. It is not hysteria, Kale states, his voice flat and cold. I have seen the effects on Lyra. And Alara's senses have not been wrong yet. Her senses? Lyanna's smooth voice comes from the doorway. She glides into the room, a vision of calm composure. You mean her feelings? My Alpha, this is a serious accusation. To suggest one of our own would do such a thing, it will cause a panic. It will tear the pack apart faster than any restructuring. Her eyes slide to me. Perhaps that is the goal. The insinuation hangs in the air, toxic as the wolfsbane in the well. She is suggesting I am manufacturing a crisis to consolidate my own power. Thorin looks from her calm face to my desperate one. The distrust in his eyes is a physical blow. The well provides for the entire pack, he says slowly. Including you, Alara. Why would anyone poison it? To discredit me, I say, the realization dawning as I speak the words. To prove that my way, the way of balance and wisdom, leads only to chaos and danger. To make the pack yearn for the old, strong, ways when things were orderly. The room is silent for a moment. My theory makes a terrible, perfect sense. This is conjecture, Thorin finally says, but the doubt has crept into his voice. We need proof. Then let us get proof, Kale says. Let me take a team and guard the well. Let us test the water properly. Let us find the culprit. And announce to the entire pack that their water is poisoned. Lyanna counters, her voice dripping with reason. That will cause the very panic we wish to avoid. People will turn on each other. Trust will shatter. It's a stalemate. Thorin, ever the cautious leader, hates both options, inaction and action. We will say there is a concern about the water quality after the spring thaw, he decides, a weak compromise. We will have it tested quietly. And we will increase patrols around the well area. Discreetly. It is not enough. I can feel it. The poisoner is still out there, watching, laughing. That night, under the cover of darkness, I cannot sleep. The image of Lyra's pale face haunts me. The knowledge that every sip of water is a potential danger gnaws at my insides. Thorin's discreet solution is like putting a bandage on a festering wound. I slip out of my room, avoiding the guard Kale posted. I move like a ghost through the sleeping pack grounds, drawn to the well. The moon is hidden behind clouds, and the world is painted in shades of deep blue and black. I need to see for myself. I need to feel if the taint is growing stronger. As I approach the well, a figure melts out from the shadows behind it. My heart leaps into my throat. It's Abita, one of Gregor's friends. He holds a small, dark pouch. He hasn't seen me. I watch, frozen, as he uncorks the pouch and makes to pour its contents into the Stop. The word tears from my throat, raw and loud in the silence. He startles violently, dropping the pouch. A fine, dark powder spills onto the ground between us. The sharp, acrid scent of concentrated wolfsbane fills the air, making my eyes water. His face twists from shock into fury. You, he snarls. You ruin everything. He shifts, not fully, but enough that claws spring from his fingertips, his features distorting into something savage. He lunges at me. I am no warrior, I have no claws, no fangs. But I have speed born of a lifetime of avoiding conflict. I dart to the side, his claws ripping through the fabric of my sleeve instead of my throat. Why? I cry out, scrambling backward. We are pack. You are not my pack. He roars, charging again. You are a disease. Lyanna was right. You will make us weak. This will show them. This will show them what your new world brings. Lyanna, Her name is a confirmation of my darkest suspicion. This is her doing. Her elegant, hidden war has just turned violent. I trip over a root, falling hard onto my back. The beater looms over me, his eyes glowing with feral hatred, his clawed hand raised for a final, killing blow. There is no one around to hear me scream. In that final, desperate moment, I don't cry out. I don't beg. I grab the pendant at my throat, clutching it like a lifeline. I pour all my fear, all my will to live, all my love for this broken pack into it. Help me. A brilliant, silent pulse of silver light erupts from the pendant. It doesn't hurt me, but the beater is thrown backward as if struck by a giant, invisible hand. He hits the ground with a sickening thud and lies still. The light fades. I am left panting on the cold ground, the scent of wolfsbane and blood in my nose. Footsteps pound toward me. Kale and two other enforcers skid to a halt, their faces a mixture of shock and horror as they take in the scene. The poison powder on the ground, the unconscious beater, and me, trembling on the verge of collapse. Kale is at my side in an instant, his hands checking me for injuries, his voice a ragged whisper. Alara, by the moon, what happened? I look up at him, my body shaking uncontrollably. The well is safe. The poisoner is caught, but the victory feels hollow and terrifying. The war, I whisper, my voice breaking, is no longer cold. Chapter 7, The Unmasking. The world swims back into focus slowly. I am in the healing ward, propped up on a cot. The sharp scent of poultices and antiseptic fills the air, a stark contrast to the night's wild sense of wolfsbane and fear. My arm is bandaged where the beater's claws grazed me, a dull, throbbing ache beneath the linen. But the deeper wound is the one I can't see, the betrayal festering in my heart. Kale is a solid, silent presence in a chair beside my cot. His knuckles are white where he grips his knees, and a storm rages in his grey eyes. The beater the first confronted, a warrior named Jax, is under heavy guard in a locked storage room. The pouch of wolfsbane is secured as evidence. The pack is awake now, buzzing with a low, anxious hum. The secret is out. The door to the ward swings open. Alpha Thorin enters, his face a granite mask of fury. Lyanna glides in behind him, her expression one of carefully curated concern. The performance is about to begin. Explain, Thorin commands, his voice dangerously quiet. He looks from me to Kale. Now, Kale stands, his posture rigid with controlled anger. Jax was caught in the act of poisoning the well, Alpha. Alara discovered him. He attacked her. He would have killed her if not for. He hesitates, glancing at me. If not for her pendant. It protected her. Thorin's eyes snap to the silver disc visible at my throat. For a moment, pure, unadulterated awe flashes across his face before it's swallowed by grim reality. He turns his gaze to me. Is this true? Every word, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. He said he was doing it to show the pack that my new world would only bring danger. He said, Lyanna was right. All eyes turn to Lyanna. She doesn't flinch. She places a hand over her heart, her face a masterpiece of wounded innocence. This is a monstrous lie, she breathes, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. To think that this traitor would use my name to justify his heinous act. I am devastated. Jax was always unstable, too aggressive. This proves it. He acted alone in his madness. It's a perfect defense. Plausible deniability. She paints Jax as a rogue element, a lone fanatic, and herself as a victim of slander. I can feel the narrative shifting, see the doubt creeping back into Thorin's eyes. He wants to believe her. It's the simpler, less painful truth. But I am the Omega. I feel the lie. It coats her words like a fine, invisible oil. He didn't act alone, I say, pushing myself up on the cot. The room seems to tilt, but I lock my eyes on Lyanna. The wolfsbane didn't come from our territory. It's a rare strain, from the sun-scorched canyons to the west. Your homeland, Lyanna, a flicker of surprise, quickly masked, in her honey-colored eyes. A coincidence. Jax could have traded for it. And the timing, Kale's voice is like ice. The poisoning starts just as Alara begins to make changes. Just as you, Lyanna, have been whispering in every ear about the dangers of her sentimentality. That is quite a coincidence. You dare accuse me? Liana's composure finally cracks, her voice rising to a sharp pitch. You, who follows this witch like a devoted puppy. Perhaps this was all a setup. Perhaps she poisoned the well herself to create a crossing. ISIS and make herself a hero. The accusation is so absurd, so vicious, that for a moment, I am speechless. The audacity takes my breath away. Enough. Thorin roars, his alpha power flooding the small room, making the glass vials on the shelves rattle. He is a man torn in two, his loyalty to his mate warring with the mounting, damning evidence. He looks at Liana, and for the first time, I see something other than adoration in his gaze. I see a sliver of terrible, dawning doubt. We will question Jax, Thorin grinds out. Thoroughly. The questioning is a brutal, private affair. Chaol and Thorin conduct it. I am not allowed to be present. I wait in my room, the minutes stretching into hours, each one a lifetime. The pack waits too, a collective breath held. The fate of our leadership, of our very future, hangs on the confession of one poisoned-minded beater. It is near dawn when Chaol comes to my door. He looks exhausted, his shoulders slumped, but his eyes are clear and hard. Well, I ask, my heart in my throat. He confessed, Chaol says, his voice flat. He admitted to poisoning the well. He said his goal was to create fear, to make the pack doubt your leadership and yearn for the old ways. And Liana, I whisper. Chaol's jaw tightens. He refused to implicate her directly. He said the idea was his alone. That he did it for the good of the pack. He runs a hand through his hair in frustration. He's a fanatic, Alara. He's taking the fall for her. We have no proof against her, only his initial words to you, which she will deny he ever said. The victory is ashes. We have stopped the immediate threat, but the mastermind remains untouched, hidden in plain sight, her position and influence intact. She has sacrificed a pawn and preserved her queen. The council is summoned as the sun breaks over the horizon, painting the sky in bloody hues. The atmosphere in the lodge is funereal. Thorin announces that Jax, acting alone in a misguided attempt to protect the pack, has been found guilty of treason and attempted murder. His punishment is exile, a fate many consider worse than death. When Thorin finishes, Liana stands. She is pale, her eyes red-rimmed, the picture of a leader shaken by the betrayal within her own ranks. This is a dark day for the Frostfang pack, she says, her voice trembling with what sounds like genuine emotion. It shows us the danger of extremism, from all sides. We must be vigilant, we must be united, we cannot let fear or reckless change divide us. Her gaze sweeps the room, lingering on me for a fraction of a second. The message is clear, I am the reckless change. Thorin does not look at her. He stares at his hands, his face a landscape of defeat and shame. He knows. In his heart, he knows she was involved. But to accuse his own M8 without irrefutable proof would shatter the pack irrevocably. He is trapped. As the council is dismissed, I feel a profound weariness settle into my bones. We have unmasked the poisoner, but the real poison, the lies, the ambition, the deep-seated resistance to change, still flows through the veins of the pack. Liana has won this round. She has shown me that her war will be fought not just with words, but with any weapon at her disposal. And she has shown me something else, something far more personal and terrifying. As Jax's claws descended, my pendant reacted to my will. It protected me. The magic of my bloodline is not just about sensing emotions. It is a power I can wield. A power I must learn to control. Because the next attack will not be so clumsy. The next time, my enemy will be ready. Chapter 8, The weight of the crown. The days after Jax's exile are draped in a heavy, fragile silence. It's the quiet of a forest after a lightning strike, tense, charged, waiting for the next spark. The physical threat is gone, but the ideological war has escalated. Liana's public performance of wounded grace has won her sympathy. Whispers follow me, not of outright hatred, but of a new, more dangerous sentiment, that my presence brings chaos. That I am a catalyst for the pack's darkest impulses. My mentorship program has 3 regular attendees now. Kaelin, the boy Gregor bullied, and 2 quiet sisters who excel at botany but have always been told it's a useless skill. It's a start, but it feels like trying to hold back a tide with a teacup. The well water is declared safe after a thorough cleansing, but I see the hesitation in people's eyes when they drink. The trust is poisoned, even if the water is not. Kale is my rock, my constant shadow. Our bond, the golden thread I first saw in the vision, has grown stronger, a tangible warmth between us. We spend our evenings in my room or his cabin, planning, debating, simply being. He teaches me the intricate politics of the pack, the alliances and grudges I was never meant to know. I, in turn, share the whispers I feel, the subtle shifts in the pack's emotional landscape. We are a team, Alpha in waiting and Omega, building a foundation for a future that feels increasingly uncertain. One such evening, as we pore over a map of the territory, I feel a strange, cold tremor run through the pack bond. It's faint, like a single discordant note in a vast symphony, but it's there. A spike of pure, undiluted malice, aimed directly at me. Kale, I say, my hand going to the pendant. It is cool and still. Something's wrong. He looks up immediately, his instincts trusting mine without question. Where? I don't know. It's just a feeling, but it's strong. I close my eyes, trying to follow the thread of the emotion. It leads me toward the heart of the pack, toward the council lodge. There, it's coming from the lodge. We move quickly, our footsteps silent on the packed earth. The lodge is dark, empty after the day's business. But the feeling is stronger here, a psychic stench of hatred. We slip inside, the moonlight through the high windows painting silver stripes on the floor. And then I see it. On the Alpha's chair, Thorin's seat of power, lies a small, crudely fashioned doll. It's made of twisted twigs and dried moss, but it has hair the color of mine, tied around its neck with a scrap of fabric torn from the sleeve of my dress, the one Jack's ripped. Plunged into the doll's chest is a long, sharp thorn from a blackberry bush. A silencing charm, a child's mockery of dark magic, but the intent behind it is violently adult. My blood runs cold. This is not just an insult. It's a threat, a promise. Someone entered this sacred space and left this vile thing on the Alpha's throne as a message. Your influence is a blight. You do not belong here. Kale lets out a low, dangerous growl, his eyes flashing amber in the dark. This is Liana's work. It has to be. Maybe, I whisper, my hand trembling as I point. But look, next to the doll, scratched into the wooden arm of the chair, is a single, jagged rune. It's not one of the ancient, graceful symbols I drew in the snow. This is harsh, angry. The rune for outsider. It's not just her, I say, a hollow opening up inside me. This sentiment, it's spreading. She's planting seeds, and they're taking root. The feeling of isolation returns, colder and deeper than before. I can fight a single enemy, even a powerful one like Liana. But how do I fight a slowly turning tide? How do I heal a sickness that the patient doesn't believe they have? We destroy the doll and erase the rune, but the scar remains. We say nothing to Thorin. What would be the point? It would only be my word, my feeling, against the silent, growing resentment of his pack. The next council meeting is a study in suppressed hostility. The usual debates over hunting quotas and border patrols are now laced with subtle barbs. When I suggest we rotate the responsibility of leading the evening howl to include younger, less dominant voices, a beta I've never had issue with before scoffs. The evening howl is a ritual of strength and unity, led by our strongest, he says, not looking at me. We shouldn't dilute it with inexperience. The word weakness hangs unspoken in the air. Liana says nothing, merely observing with a faint, approving smile. She doesn't need to speak. Her followers are now speaking for her. I feel the weight of the invisible crown the sentinels have placed on my head. It is not made of silver and light. It is made of doubt, suspicion, and the crushing responsibility for a people who do not want to be saved. That night, standing alone by my window, I feel the pull. A soft, familiar whisper on the edge of my consciousness, not of malice, but of ancient solace. The forest is calling. I slip out, moving past the guard with a quiet word. I need to breathe. I need to remember why I'm fighting. I make my way to the clearing by the Serpent Lake, to the circle of white flowers that marks where I drew the summoning marks. I kneel there, my fingers brushing the delicate petals. I don't know if I can do this. I confess to the silent night. The burden is too heavy. They hate me for trying to help them. The air shimmers. The massive, luminous form of the sentinel leader materializes from between the trees, as if stepping out of a fold in the world. His blue eyes hold no judgment, only deep, timeless understanding. A sapling does not grow without resistance from the earth, his voice murmurs in my mind. The wind that threatens to break it also makes its roots dig deeper. You are not asked to be loved, daughter of winter. You are asked to be strong. You are asked to lead. Lead them where, I ask, tears finally spilling over. They don't want to follow. You do not lead the pack you have. You lead the pack that must be. You are the blueprint, Alara. The first line of a new story. The first ones to change the world are always alone. But they are never the last. He bows his massive head, his breath a warm cloud in the cool air. The weight you feel is not a crown of oppression. It is the anchor of purpose. Do not let them make you hate the very gifts you are meant to use to heal them. His words are a balm. The crushing pressure in my chest eases, just a little. He is right. This was never going to be easy. The poison, the threats, the hatred, they are not signs of my failure. They are signs that I am succeeding. That I am challenging a system that does not want to be challenged. I look up at the star-dusted sky, at the waning moon. The trial period is halfway over. I have faced attempted murder and open rebellion. But I am still here. I am still standing. I touch the pendant. It is warm again, humming with a soft, steady light. My inheritance. My anchor. The pack may be resisting me, but I will not break. I will bend, I will adapt, I will learn. But I will not break. For the first time since I stood before Alpha Thorin and claimed my name, I feel not the fear of a rejected Omega, but the grim, unyielding resolve of a true leader. The war for the Frostfang pack is far from over. In fact, I realize with a cold, clear certainty, it has only just begun. Chapter 9, The Howling Caves. The grim resolve I found by the lake is tested sooner than I expected. A spring storm descends on the territory, a howling gale. That tears at the rooftops and turns the world into a sea of mud and lashing rain. It's during this chaos that disaster strikes. A group of our youngest pups, adventurous and brimming with energy the rain couldn't dampen, were playing near the treacherous cliffs on the eastern border. Their minder, a distracted young beater, lost sight of them for only a moment. A moment was all it took. A section of sodden earth gave way. 3 pups have fallen into the labyrinthine network known as the Howling Caves. The news rips through the pack like a lightning strike. Panic, raw and primal, replaces the simmering resentment. Parents wail. Warriors snarl in helpless fury. The caves are a death trap, a maze of narrow tunnels, sudden drop-offs, and underground rivers that swell violently in a storm. No one who has ever been lost in them has returned. Alpha Thorin stands on the porch of the pack house, his face ashen as he organizes search parties. His commands are sharp, desperate. But I can feel the hopelessness leaching from him, from all of them. They are preparing for a recovery mission, not a rescue. I stand at the edge of the frantic crowd, the storm soaking my clothes, but I barely feel it. I am listening to a different sound. Beneath the roar of the wind and the cries of the pack, I can hear it, a faint, terrified whimper. Not with my ears, but with my soul. The Omega's gift. The pups are alive. They are terrified, cold, but their heartbeats are a fragile, fluttering rhythm against my own. They're alive, I say, my voice cutting through the din. The crowd falls silent, all eyes turning to me. The hope in the parents' faces is a physical force, so sharp it hurts. How could you possibly know that? Liana's voice is scornful, dripping with contempt for what she sees as my cruel theatrics at a time of tragedy. I can feel them, I say, my gaze locked on Thorin. I can lead a party right to them. Impossible, barks Boran, the healer. The caves are a maze. Your feelings will lead our warriors to their deaths alongside the pups. She has been right about everything else. Kale's voice rings out, steady and sure. He steps to my side, his presence a shield. I will go with her. A small, fast team. We follow her lead. Thorin looks from the desperate parents to me, to Kale. The storm of doubt and decision rages in his eyes. The old way, sending in large, brute force search parties, has already been deemed a death sentence. The new way is a gamble on a feeling. Go, he grunts, the word ripped from him. Take Nikolai and 2 others. Be quick. The journey to the caves is a nightmare. The wind tries to tear us from the path, the rain blinds us. The entrance to the Howling Caves is a dark, gaping maw in the cliffside, the wind screaming through it with an unearthed live voice that gives the caves their name. Inside, the world shrinks to the circle of light from our lanterns. The air is cold and damp, smelling of wet stone and ancient darkness. The sound of rushing water echoes from everywhere and nowhere. Which way, Omega? Nikolai asks, his voice tense. He is a practical wolf, a man of action, and this reliance on intuition goes against every fiber of his being. I close my eyes, ignoring the skeptical looks from the other 2 warriors. I let the frantic, pulsing fear of the pups guide me. It's like following a thread of silver light in the overwhelming blackness of the cave. This way, I say, pointing down a narrow, sloping tunnel that looks no different from a dozen others. We move, single file. The way is treacherous. We have to squeeze through narrow cracks, wade through icy water that pulls at our knees, climb over slick, jagged rocks. The howling of the wind is a constant, maddening companion. After what feels like an eternity, my sense of the pups grows stronger. But so does another feeling, a deep, primal fear that is not my own. It's the cave itself. It feels awake, malevolent. We round a corner and stop dead. The tunnel opens into a large cavern. In the center, 3 small, shivering forms are huddled on a precarious island of rock, surrounded by a churning, raging underground river. The water is rising rapidly. But that's not what makes my blood freeze. On the far side of the cavern, partially hidden in shadow, is a massive cave bear. It's lean and hungry after its winter hibernation, and it has caught the scent of the pups. It paces at the water's edge, its small, greedy eyes fixed on the tiny morsels, calculating the swim. Moon above, one of the warriors breathes, his hand going to his weapon. It's a standoff. The bear is too far to attack from here, and the river is too violent to cross without being swept away. But the bear is growing bolder. It's only a matter of time before it risks the current. We have to draw it away, Kale says, his voice low and urgent. I'll make a distraction on the far side. You 3 get the pups. No, I grab his arm. It's too dangerous. The current will take you. There's no other way, he says, his gray eyes meeting mine. The unspoken words pass between us. Trust me. Before I can argue, he's moving, slipping back into the tunnels to find another route to the far side of the cavern. The minutes stretch, each one an agony. The bear takes a step into the water, snarling as the current tugs at its thick fur. The pups whimper, pressing closer together. Then, from a ledge high on the opposite wall, a rock clatters down. The bear's head snaps up. Kale stands there, a silhouette against the dark rock, howling a challenge. The bear roars, its attention completely captured. It abandons the pups and begins to climb toward this new, larger threat. Now, Nikolai barks. He and the other 2 warriors plunge into the river. It's a brutal fight against the water, but they are strong. They reach the rock, grabbing the pups and turning back. My eyes are locked on Kale. The bear is almost upon him. He's backed against the cavern wall, no room to run. A desperate, wild idea forms in my mind. I don't have claws. I don't have fangs. But I have a different kind of power. I close my eyes and reach out, not with my hands, but with my spirit. I push past my own fear, past the roaring of the water and the wind. I reach for the mind of the bear. It is a chaotic storm of hunger and rage, a primal force with no language. I don't try to command it. I can't. Instead, I pour a single, overwhelming feeling into its consciousness. Fear, not the fear of a challenger, but the deep, instinctual fear of a greater predator. The fear it would feel facing the Sylvan Sentinels. The fear of ancient, wild magic. The bear stops its advance. It lets out a confused, startled woof, shaking its massive head. It looks at Kale, then sniffs the air, its beady eyes scanning the darkness as if searching for the source of this sudden, terrifying presence. It takes a step back, then another. With a final, bewildered growl, it turns and lumbers away, disappearing into a tunnel on its side of the cavern. By the time Nikolai and the others have dragged the shivering, crying pups back to my side, Kale has navigated his way back to us. His face is pale, his breathing ragged. His eyes find mine across the cavern, filled with a question too vast to voice. We don't speak on the treacherous journey back. We carry the exhausted pups through the storm, their small, warm bodies a precious weight. When we finally emerge from the cave mouth into the lashing rain, the entire pack is waiting. A collective cry of relief and joy goes up as the parents rush forward to reclaim their children. There are tears, embraces, a cacophony of grateful howls that momentarily drown out the storm. I stand back, soaked and shivering, watching the reunion. Kale comes to stand beside me, his shoulder pressing against mine. "The bear," he says quietly, his voice for my ears only. It just stopped. It looked right at me, and then it ran. "What did you do, Alara?" I look up at him, the rain washing the mud from my face. The power I felt in the cave is still a strange, humming echo in my veins. I remembered what the sentinel said. I am the heart of the pack. And sometimes, the heart's greatest strength is not to fight, but to feel. And to make others feel. He doesn't understand, not fully. But he doesn't need to. He trusts me. As the pack celebrates, I see Liana standing apart, her face a cold, unreadable mask in the rain. She watches the joyful scene, her eyes lingering on me and Kale. She didn't want this. She didn't want a victory. She wanted a tragedy to prove me wrong. But she has failed. Today, the Omega did not bring chaos. The Omega brought 3 children home. And for the first time, as the pack howls its gratitude to the storm-racked sky, I feel a shift. The tide of resentment is still there, but it has met an unmovable shore. My shore. Chapter 10. The tides turn. The rescue of the pups is a turning point. It's as if a fever has broken. The sullen silence that followed Jax's exile begins to thaw, replaced by a cautious, bewildered gratitude. I am no longer just the strange Omega who talks to ancient wolves and causes trouble. I am the one who felt 3 tiny heartbeats in the dark and led warriors through a labyrinth to bring them home. The change is subtle at first. A nod from a beta who used to look through me. A bowl of stew from Marta that is actually full, with an extra piece of meat. Anya, the young healer, starts leaving small bundles of useful herbs at my door, comfrey for bruises, lavender for sleep. They are silent offerings, but they speak volumes. My mentorship program swells from 3 to 10, then 15. It's not just the quiet ones anymore. A few of the more confident teenagers, curious about the Omega who stared down a cave bear, start showing up. I don't just teach them about tracking and herbs. I teach them about the pack's history, the old stories Maeve has shared with me. I teach them that strength is more than muscle. It is the courage to be different, the resilience to stand back up, the loyalty to protect the smallest among us. Kale and I fall into a rhythm. Our days are a whirlwind of council meetings, patrol planning, and my sessions with the young. But our evenings are ours. Sometimes we sit in comfortable silence in my room, him sharpening weapons while I study the ancient texts Maeve has lent me. Other times, we talk for hours, our voices low. He tells me about his childhood, his own struggles to live up to the rigid expectations of an enforcer. I tell him about my grandmother, about the loneliness that was my constant companion. The golden thread between us winds tighter, stronger, becoming the central chord of my new life. One evening, as we walk the perimeter of the main compound, we come across a group of younger pups play fighting. One of them, a small, scrappy thing named Fen, gets pinned by a larger pup. Instead of yielding, he snarls and lashes out, his small teeth drawing a bead of blood. The larger pup yelps, and Fen scrambles away, his little chest heaving with defiant anger. He's too aggressive, Kale murmurs, his enforcer's mind already categorizing a potential future problem. No, I say, softly, watching Fen. He's scared. He's the smallest of his litter. He thinks he has to fight for everything, or he'll get nothing. I can feel the pup's turbulent emotions, fear, frustration, a desperate need to prove he's not weak. I walk over and kneel a few feet from him. He eyes me warily, still bristling. You're a fierce little warrior, Fen, I say, my voice calm and non-threatening. But a true warrior knows when to fight and when to be smart. Your speed is your gift. That big, slow oaf could never catch you. Why let him pin you? Fen blinks, his aggressive posture softening slightly. He'd never thought of it that way. The other pups gather around, listening. I spend the next hour with them, turning their chaotic play into a game of strategy and stealth. I teach Fen how to use his size to his advantage, to be clever instead of just angry. By the end, he's laughing, outmaneuvering the bigger pups with gleeful cunning. As I stand to leave, Fen runs up and, in a sudden, impulsive gesture, presses a smooth, pretty stone into my hand before darting away. It's a child's treasure, given freely. I look down at the stone in my palm, and my throat tightens. This small, simple gift feels like a greater victory than any council decree. You see them, Kale says quietly, coming to stand beside me. Not what they are supposed to be, but what they could be. It's what we all could be, I reply, closing my fingers around the stone. But the turning tide does not wash away all the old debris. Liana's influence, while diminished, has not vanished. She has simply grown more subtle, more clever. She no longer openly opposes my suggestions in council. Instead, she supports them in a way that sows doubt. When I propose a festival to celebrate the pack's resilience after the cave rescue, she is the first to agree. A wonderful idea, she purrs. It will be so good for morale. We must, of course, be mindful of our resources. We wouldn't want to appear wasteful when our southern border still needs reinforcing. The comment is a masterstroke. It paints me as frivolous and diverts attention to a perceived weakness in Kale's patrols. The festival is approved, but the discussion is tainted with an undercurrent of anxiety about the borders. She is a master of the poisoned compliment, the concerned question that implies incompetence. I learn to anticipate her moves, to counter with a calm clarity that frustrates her. Our battles are now fought with smiles and carefully chosen words in the council lodge, a far cry from the wolfsbane and clawed threats of before. One afternoon, Elder Maeve finds me in the archives, surrounded by scrolls. She watches me for a long moment, a faint smile on her wrinkled face. You are learning the second half of an Omega's role, she says. He first is to feel the pack's heart. The second is to learn how to speak to its mind. You are becoming a diplomat, Alara. A leader. Her praise warms me, but a cold knot of anxiety remains in my stomach. The trial period is almost over. The full moon is in 3 days' time. The council will then vote on whether to make the triad permanent. Everything I have worked for, everything we have suffered for, comes down to a single vote. The gratitude for the rescued pups is a powerful currency, but is it enough to buy a new future? Or will old loyalties, old fears, and Liana's subtle poison win the day? The pack is healing, but it is still fractured. I have supporters now, yes. But I also have enemies who have simply learned to hide their claws. The tide has turned, but the shore ahead is still shrouded in fog. In 3 days, we will see if it leads to a new beginning, or if we will be pulled back into the old, familiar darkness. Chapter 11. The scars we mend. The victory in the Ironwood was a turning point, but the true test of the crown began in its aftermath. The palace dungeons, once a place of grim silence, now held the captured rebel leaders. But it was the 24 surrendered conscripts, housed in a guarded but clean barracks near the palace, who became the focus of Alara's days. The war was over, the healing had to begin. She went to them the morning after the victory, against the advice of both Lyra and a concerned Kaelin. They are frightened and confused, she insisted. Seeing their queen, seeing that I am real and not the monster from the stories, might be the first step toward peace. She entered the barracks alone, dressed in a simple, unadorned gown. The young wolves, most of them barely past their first shift, scrambled to their feet. Their fear was a thick scent in the air. They expected punishment, perhaps death. Alara did not sit on the chair that had been placed for her. Instead, she walked among them, her hands clasped gently in front of her. "My name is Alara," she began, her voice soft. "I know you have been told many things about me. That I am the cause of the king's weakness. That my bond has broken the moon's favor." She paused, meeting the eyes of a young she-wolf who couldn't have been more than 16. "I was born an Omega in the Stonefall pack. I know what it is to feel powerless. To be told you have no value. A few of them looked up, their expressions shifting from fear to shock. The queen was confessing her own low status. I was rejected by my fated mate because I had no political power to offer him. The admission hung in the air, stark and honest. I know the pain of being cast aside. Sir, I understand, perhaps more than you know, why you might have been willing to listen to promises of a new order, one where your families would not struggle, where you would have a voice. She stopped before the farmer's son, a lanky boy named Ronan. Your father is well, Ronan. He misses you. He was the one who gave us the map to find you. Tears welled in the boy's eyes and spilled over. They said they would burn our farm if I didn't join, he choked out. They said the king didn't care if we starved. I know, Alara said, her voice filled with a profound empathy. And for that, the king and I are deeply sorry. The laws that hurt your village have been repealed. The new trade routes are being renegotiated as we speak. She turned her gaze to encompass all of them. You will not be punished for your actions. You were victims of fear and lies. You will be given a choice. You may return to your families with our blessing and a pledge of support to rebuild what was lost. Or, if you have no home to return to, you may swear a new oath to the crown and be given a place here, to train and serve in the palace guard or in other trades. The offer was so far beyond what any of them had dared to hope for that a stunned silence filled the room. It was not amnesty, it was redemption. One by one, they came forward. Some, like Ronan, chose to go home, their hearts yearning for familiar fields. Others, their families scattered or lost, knelt before her and pledged their loyalty to the queen who had offered them not a prison cell, but a future. Kaelan watched this transformation from the doorway, his heart so full of pride it felt like it might burst. He had won the battle with strength, but Alara was winning the peace with a grace he could never possess. She was mending the tears in the kingdom's fabric, one thread at a time. The work with the rebel leaders was harder, and it fell to Kaelan. They were bitter, entrenched in their hatred. But even here, Alara's influence was felt. Kaelan did not have them executed outright. He offered them a public trial, a chance to speak their grievances before the entire court. It was a risk, allowing their poison to be aired, but Alara had convinced him. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, she had said. Let the pack hear their lies and see their hatred for what it is. The truth will stand against it. She was right. The trials were a spectacle, but they ultimately backfired on the rebels. Their arguments, stripped of the fear they had wielded in the shadows, sounded petty and selfish. The pack saw their king's fairness in allowing them to speak, and their queen's serene confidence as she sat beside him, unshaken by their vitriol. In the end, justice was served, but it was tempered with the mercy Alara had championed. The ringleaders were exiled, not executed, their lives spared but their influence permanently broken. Weeks turned into a month. The first BUDS of spring began to push through the thawing ground, mirroring the new growth in the kingdom. One evening, Alara and Kaelan walked through the gardens, now coming alive with color. It is done, Kaelan said, his voice filled with a quiet contentment. The rebellion is over. The kingdom is united in a way I have not seen in my entire reign. He stopped and turned to her, taking both her hands in his. This is your doing, Alara. Your compassion was not a weakness to be protected. It was the missing piece, the cornerstone this throne needed. You saw the people where I saw only subjects. You saw wounds where I saw only disobedience. Alara looked around at the peaceful garden, at the palace that was now truly her home, at the man who was her partner in every sense of the word. The scars of the past, both his from the ambush and hers from the rejection, had not vanished. But they had healed, becoming not marks of shame, but reminders of the strength it had taken to overcome. The scars are still there, she murmured, but they no longer hurt. They remind us of what we survived, together. Kaelan smiled, a true, easy smile that reached his eyes. Together, he agreed, always. In the quiet of the twilight, with the first stars appearing overhead, the Alpha King and his Omega Queen stood hand in hand, their bond a quiet, steady flame. They had faced down shadows and whispers, and they had emerged not just victorious, but whole. The mending was complete, and the future stretched before them, bright and full of promise. Chapter 12. The echoing howl. Victory is a strange, hollow sound. The council's verdict should feel like a triumphant howl, but it echoes in my chest with the faint, metallic ring of a challenge bell. The formal establishment of the triad changes everything, and yet, it changes nothing about the deep, festering wounds in the pack. Liana's defeat has not broken her. It has forged her into something harder, sharper. She no longer attends council meetings with a smile. She sits in stony silence, a statue of cold disapproval, her presence a constant, chilling reminder of the opposition that simmers just beneath the surface of our newfound unity. Her followers, those who voted nay, now move through the pack grounds with a sullen, wounded pride. They are the Loyalists, a title they wear like a badge of honor, contrasting themselves against what they call the Reformists, who follow me. The pack has not been united, it has been partitioned. My days are now a whirlwind of formal responsibility. As a full member of the triad, my voice carries legal weight. Kale and I work in tandem with a grim efficiency. He handles the restructured patrols and defense, implementing the strategies we devised. I focus on the pack's internal well-being, formalizing the mentorship program, establishing a council for the elders to voice their concerns, and creating a system for resolving disputes that doesn't always end with the most dominant wolf winning. It is exhausting, thankless work. For every step forward, there is a subtle pushback. The Loyalists follow Thorin's laws to the letter, but with a slow, deliberate reluctance that borders on sabotage. A patrol might misunderstand orders and return late. Supplies for the new learning center, accidentally, misdirected. I feel the resistance like a constant, low-grade headache. The Omega's burden is now the Omega's bureaucracy. One evening, a week after the vote, a sharp, collective anxiety spikes through the pack bond, so strong it makes me drop the scroll I'm reading. It's coming from the border, the southern border, the one Liana had so, concernedly, mentioned before the festival. Kale feels it too. We find each other in the hallway, our eyes meeting in shared understanding. We run to the main gate just as a wounded, limping scout stumbles into the compound, his clothes torn, his face pale with pain and shock. Alpha, Beta, Omega, he gasps, collapsing to his knees. The Shadow Fang pack, they've crossed the border. They ambushed our patrol. A cold dread, entirely separate from the scout's fear, washes over me. The Shadow Fang pack, the same wild, aggressive pack Kale had feared on the night of the summoning. They have chosen this moment, when we are politically fractured, to test our strength. Thorin arrives, his face a thundercloud. How many? Where? A full war party, the scout wheezes. At least 20, they're pushing toward the Sunstone Ridge. They said to send a message. He looks up, his eyes filled with terror. They said, the broken pack has no right to such rich lands. The time of the Frostfang is over. The message is a declaration of war. And it is designed to exploit our every weakness. Panic begins to ripple through the gathered crowd. I can feel it feeding on itself, a rising tide of fear. The Loyalists look to Thorin, their faces demanding a show of brute force. The Reformists look to me, their eyes wide with uncertainty. Thorin's response is immediate and predictable. Call every warrior, we meet them at the ridge with full force. We will show them what strength means. It is the old way. The way of clash and bloodshed. The way that has kept us secure, but at a terrible cost. But I feel a different path. A more dangerous one. The Sentinel's words whisper in my memory. You are the bridge. Wait, I say, stepping forward. My voice is quiet, but it cuts through the panic. All eyes turn to me. Thorin's glare is incendiary. This is not the time for your feelings, Omega. This is a time for war. Is it? I counter, my hay. RT hammering against my ribs. Or is it a time for wisdom? They expect us to charge in, Alpha. They are counting on it. They called us, broken. They want us to fight like a broken pack, all rage, no strategy. And what is your strategy? Liana's voice is like a whip crack from the edge of the crowd. She steps forward, her eyes alight with a strange, fervent fire. To talk to them, to offer them herbs and kind words while they slaughter our people. A few Loyalists snarl in agreement. My strategy, I say, forcing my voice to remain calm, is to not play their game. Kale, how many warriors can we mobilize within the hour? 30, maybe 35, he replies instantly. against 20 of theirs, on a ridge they've chosen. I shake my head. It's a trap, or a diversion. I turn to the scout. Did you see their alpha? Brom. The scout shakes his head. No, it was his enforcer, Victor, who led them. My suspicion hardens into certainty. Brom is not there. This is a probe. They are testing our strength, our unity, our leadership. If we send our entire force, we leave our heartland, our pups, our elders, undefended. What if another group is circling around? The silence that follows is thoughtful, heavy. I am speaking a language of war they are not used to, a language of perception and foresight, not just force. So what do you propose? Thorin grinds out, but he is listening now. I propose we answer their message, I say, a wild, daring plan forming in my mind. But not with the message they expect. We do not send our army. We send the triad. The gasp that ripples through the pack is universal. Suicide. Lyanna spits. It is a show of strength they will not understand, I argue, my gaze locked on Thorin and Kale. It shows supreme confidence. That we are so unified, so secure, that we would meet a war party with only our leaders. It shows that we are not broken. We are balanced, and it will make their alpha, Brom, deeply curious. He is a brute, but he is not a fool. He will want to know what kind of pack is led by such madness. Kale is the first to nod, a slow, grim smile touching his lips. It's brilliant, and insane, but it might just work. Thorin looks between us, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The old way is safe, predictable. My way is a gamble with our very lives. The triad, he says finally, the word tasting foreign on his tongue. We go, together. The preparation is a frantic blur. In an hour, we are mounted, ready to ride for the Sunstone Ridge. As we prepare to leave, a young voice pipes up from the crowd. Omega, it is Fen. He runs forward, clutching something in his hand. It is a small, clumsily carved wooden wolf. He presses it into my hand. For protection, he whispers, his eyes huge. I clutch the little carving. My throat tight. This is what I am fighting for. Not for power, not for a title, but for the future in Fen's eyes. As we ride out, the entire pack watches us go. The loyalists are skeptical, the reformists are terrified, but as I glance back, I see Elder Maeve standing tall, her hand over her heart. She gives me a single, solemn nod. We are 3 against 20. The Alpha, the Beta, and the Omega. Riding to meet the enemy not with claws, but with a message. The future of the Frostfang pack will be decided not by a battle, but by an echo. The echo of the howl we are about to send across the ridge. Chapter 13, The Sunstone Ridge. The ride to the Sunstone Ridge is a silent, grim procession. The only sounds are the pounding of hooves, the jangle of tack, and the whisper of the wind that carries the scent of pine and impending conflict. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs, each beat echoing the absurd risk we are taking. 3 leaders against a war party. It feels less like a strategy and more like a spectacularly noble suicide. Thorin rides with his jaw clenched, a monument to simmering rage and doubt. He is a creature of action, and this passive-aggressive diplomacy is an anathema to his every instinct. Kale, beside me, is a study in focused calm, but I can feel the tension coiled in him, a spring ready to be released. His eyes constantly scan the terrain, calculating, assessing. He is the bridge, the practical mind between Thorin's fury and my faith, my madness. We crest a final hill, and the Sunstone Ridge sprawls before us. It's a stark, beautiful, and brutal place, a long spine of pale, weathered rock thrusting from the earth, dotted with stunted, wind-twisted trees. And there, positioned at the narrowest point of the pass, are the Shadowfang wolves. 20 of them, just as the scout said. They are a stark contrast to our own pack. Where Frostfang wolves have coats of silver, grey, and white, these are shades of soot, charcoal, and dried blood. They are leaner, rangier, their eyes holding a feral hunger that speaks of a harder life in a less forgiving territory. Their enforcer, Victor, stands at their head. He is almost as large as Thorin, with a jagged scar running from his brow to his jaw, pulling his lip into a permanent sneer. As we approach, halting our horses a stone's throw away, a wave of mocking laughter ripples through the Shadowfang ranks. What is this? Victor's voice is a gravelly bark, dripping with contempt. A delegation? Have you come to surrender, Frostfang? Did you bring your Omega to plead for mercy? His yellowed eyes rake over me, and I feel a wave of predatory interest that makes my skin crawl. Thorin dismounts, his movement fluid and powerful. Kale and I follow suit. We stand together, a united front. We see. Am to hear the words of your alpha, Thorin's voice booms, ignoring the taunt. But I see he sends his dog to do his howling. Where is Brom? Victor's sneer falters for a second, thrown by our calm, by our lack of an army. The alpha does not waste his time on broken packs. He sent me to deliver a message. Your territory is ripe for the taking. Your pack is weak, led by sentiment and an Omega. He spits on the ground. We will take what is ours. This is the moment, the gamble. I step forward, just half a pace, drawing every eye. The pendant against my chest feels warm, not with magic, but with the heat of my own defiance. Your message is received, Enforcer Victor, I say, my voice clear and carrying, without a trace of the fear churning in my gut. But you are mistaken. The Frostfang pack has never been stronger. He laughs, a harsh, ugly sound. You call this strength? 3 of you against my warriors. We call it unity, Kale states, his voice like chilled steel. We call it confidence. We do not need to hide behind our entire army to deliver a message. Our strength is not just in our numbers, but in our will. And our will is unbroken. I can feel the confusion emanating from the Shadowfang wolves. This is not following the script. They expected a defiant charge or cowering submission. They did not expect this. Your alpha, Brom, is a practical wolf, I continue, pressing the advantage of their confusion. I am reading him now, not with my Omega gift, but with simple observation. They are aggressive, but they are not stupid. They are waiting for a signal from Victor, who is himself unsettled. He seeks to expand his territory. But war is costly. Even if you win, you lose warriors. You create lasting enemies. There is another way. Victor's eyes narrow. What way? The old way, I say, the words of the sentinel echoing in my mind. The way of balance, of trade, of shared hunting rights in the buffer lands. The Frostfang pack is changing. We are remembering the old covenants. We are not a threat to you, unless you make us one. But we are also not prey. I let my gaze sweep over their war party, meeting as many eyes as I dare. I pour every ounce of my will, my conviction, into my voice. Go back to Brom. Tell him the Frostfang pack is not broken. Tell him we are led by a triad, strength, loyalty, and wisdom. Tell him we extend an offer of dialogue. But also tell him, I pause, letting the silence hang heavy. Tell him that if it is war he wants, he will find that our wisdom has made us stronger, not weaker. And that we will defend what is ours with a unity he cannot comprehend. The silence on the ridge is absolute. The wind seems to have died down to listen. The Shadowfang wolves are staring, their mockery replaced by a wary, calculating stillness. They are warriors, but they are also survivors. My words have planted a seed, the seed of an alternative to bloodshed. Victor stares at me, his scarred face unreadable. For a long moment, I think he will order the attack anyway, so great is his pride. But then he grunts, a short, sharp sound of dismissal. We will take your words to Brom, he says, his tone grudging. Do not mistake this for mercy. We will be watching. If we see a single crack in this unity of yours, we will shatter it. He turns, barking a command to his warriors. As one, they melt back into the rocks and trees from which they came, their forms disappearing with an unsettling silence. We stand there, the 3 of us, long after they are gone. The tension drains from my body, leaving me trembling and weak-kneed. I lean against my horse, drawing in great, shuddering breaths. Thorin turns to me, his expression a complex storm of relief, resentment, and something that might, for the first time, be respect. You have the courage of a madwoman, Omega, he grunts. It was a foolish risk. But it worked, Kale says, his voice filled with a fierce, proud warmth. He comes to my side, his hand resting on my shoulder, a steadying, solid weight. They didn't just see 3 leaders. They saw a new kind of power. They're confused, and a confused enemy is an enemy that hesitates. We mount up and ride back toward home. The journey is quieter, the air lighter. We have not won a war, but we have perhaps, just perhaps, prevented one. We have shown a different face of strength to our enemies, a face of unity and unnerving confidence. As the pack compound comes into view, the waiting crowd is silent, their faces etched with anxiety. They see only 3 riders returning, unharmed. They do not see the 20 warriors who retreated. Thorin halts his horse before them. He doesn't look at me or Kale. He addresses his pack. The Shadowfang pack has withdrawn, he announces, his voice strong and sure. They carried our message back to their alpha. The Triad has spoken for the Frostfang pack. And we have been heard. A single, unified howl of relief and triumph rises from the crowd, shattering the tense silence. It is a sound of pure, unadulterated joy. In that moment, the partitions of loyalist and reformist seem to vanish. They are simply pack. I look at Kale, and he meets my gaze, a slow, triumphant smile spreading across his face. We did it, not with claws, but with wisdom. Not with an army, but with an idea. The echo of our howl on the Sunstone Ridge will travel far. And for the first time, I truly believe that the balance we are building is not a weakness, but the greatest strength of all. Chapter 14, The Cracks in the Ice. The triumph of the Sunstone Ridge is a fragile thing, a beautiful, intricate frost pattern that melts at the first touch of the morning sun. For a few days, the pack breathes easier. The story of the Triad facing down the Shadowfang war party becomes a legend in the making, told and retold around the evening fires. My status shifts from a controversial figure to something approaching a living myth. The children, especially, look at me with wide, awestruck eyes. But legends are cold comfort against the slow, grinding reality of leadership. The immediate external threat is gone, but the internal fissures remain, and Lyanna is a master of finding the cracks and driving in her icy wedges. She has abandoned the council meetings entirely now, claiming a mysterious, lingering ailment. But her absence is more powerful than her presence ever was. It is a silent, potent accusation. She is the ghost at our feast, the unspoken nay in every decision we make. Her influence works through whispers in the dark, through the loyalists who now move with a sense of martyrdom, believing they are the last bastions of the true Frostfang way. The conflict comes to a head over a seemingly minor issue, the harvest. The early autumn harvest is bountiful, better than it has been in years. It should be a time of celebration and preparation for the coming winter. As part of the new balance, Kale and I propose a new system for its distribution. Instead of the old way, where the strongest and highest-ranking families took the lion's share, we propose a model that ensures every member of the pack, from the oldest elder to the lowest-ranking Omega, receives an equitable portion, with reserves set aside for emergencies. It is a system built on the principle that a pack is only as strong as its weakest member. It is the very heart of the covenant we are trying to restore. The Loyalists revolt. It starts with Gregor, who stands in the council lodge, his face flushed with anger. This is an insult. My warriors work the hardest, patrol the farthest, face the greatest dangers. And you would give them the same share as a cook. As a storyteller. He practically spits the last word, his gaze flicking to Maeve. It is not an insult, Gregor, Kale replies, his voice dangerously calm. It is an investment. A well-fed cook prepares meals that strengthen your warriors. A respected storyteller preserves the history that gives them a reason to fight. A pack is an ecosystem, not a pyramid. But the logic falls on deaf ears. The argument spills out of the council lodge and into the pack grounds. For the first time since the Triad was established, voices are raised in open, angry debate. The reformists argue for community and shared responsibility. The loyalists shout about merit, strength, and the erosion of tradition. I feel the discord like a physical sickness. It's you're churning tumult in the pack bond, a headache that pounds behind my eyes. This is what Lyanna wanted. She wanted the pack divided not along the lines of her external threat, but along the lines of my policies. She has forced us to fight the battle on her terms, in the muddy, complicated arena of resource allocation. The tension reaches a boiling point 2 days later at the granary. A group of loyalist warriors, led by Gregor, arrives as the distributions are beginning. They demand the rightful, larger share. The beater in charge of the distribution, a quiet, fair-minded wolf named Evander, refuses. I follow the Triad's decree, he says, his voice firm though I can feel his fear. Gregor shoves him. The Triad does not overrule pack law. Strength is rewarded. That is the law. A scuffle breaks out. It's not a full-fledged fight, not yet, but it's a line that has been crossed. The sanctity of the Triad's authority has been physically challenged. Kale and I arrive as the crowd is pulling the two apart. The air is thick with anger and the metallic scent of aggression. This ends now. Thorin's voice roars as he storms onto the scene. He looks older, wearier than I have ever seen him, the burden of a fractured pack heavy on his broad shoulders. He looks from Gregor's defiant face to mine. My study, now, all of you. In the tense silence of Thorin's study, the battle lines are drawn. Gregor, unrepentant, repeats his arguments. I stand my ground, explaining the long-term wisdom of an equitable system. Thorin listens, his head in his hands. He is trapped between the howling past and the uncertain future, between the mate he loves and the covenant he knows, in his heart, is right. The old ways kept us alive, he says finally, his voice ragged. And they are killing our spirit, I counter softly. This conflict, this greed, this is the sickness I was called to heal, Alpha. A pack that fights over food while their enemies watch from the borders is a pack already dying. The truth of my words hangs in the air. Thorin knows it. Gregor knows it, though his pride would never let him admit it. A soft knock sounds at the door. It is Elder Maeve. She does not wait for an invitation. She enters, her wise eyes taking in the scene of stalemate and despair. I have been reading the oldest laws, she says, her voice like the rustle of ancient pages. The very first laws, from the time of the first Alpha. She looks at Thorin. The very first decree was not about rewarding strength, my Alpha. It was about ensuring that no pup went to bed hungry. It was about the duty of the strong to provide for the weak. That was the foundation. Everything else was built upon it. She turns her gaze to Gregor. You speak of the old ways, Beater. But you have forgotten the oldest one of a compassion. Her words are a bucket of cold water on the heated argument. Gregor looks down, shame warring with his anger. Thorin lets out a long, slow breath. The decision is written on his face. He cannot, in good conscience, side against the foundational principle of pack itself. The Triad's distribution decree stands, he says, his voice firm, final. It is now pack law. Anyone who challenges it challenges my authority directly. He looks at Gregor, his eyes hard. Do you understand? Gregor gives a stiff, reluctant nod. Yes, Alpha. He leaves, the fight gone out of him, for now. The immediate crisis is averted. But the victory feels hollow. We have won the battle of the granary, but the war for the pack's soul continues. Lyanna's poison has seeped deep, turning brother against brother, tradition against progress. As I leave the study, I feel a profound weariness. The cracks in the ice are still there, hidden just beneath the surface of our enforced unity. And I know, with a cold certainty, that the next test will not be over grain or hunting rights. It will be more personal. It will be more devastating. The balance is holding, but the weight is immense. And I am not sure how much longer I can bear it. Chapter 15, The first snow of the season falls silently in the night, a soft, white blanket that muffles the world and paints the Frostfang territory in a pristine, monochrome piece. I watch it from my window, the flakes drifting past like forgotten memories. It has been a full cycle of the moon since the council's verdict, since the Triad was made permanent. The official trial is over, but the real trial, the daily, grinding work of healing a broken people, feels like it has only just begun. The conflict over the harvest has left scars. The pack is functional, but the warmth of the post-Ridge unity has cooled. The Loyalists comply with the new laws, but their cooperation is slow, sullen, a form of passive resistance that is somehow more exhausting than open rebellion. Lyanna remains in seclusion, a ghost whose presence is felt in every hesitant glance, every carefully worded question from her followers. Yet, there are pockets of undeniable, beautiful change. The mentorship program is thriving. Anya, the young healer, now assists Boran openly, her gentle hands and intuitive understanding of herbs already saving a young warrior from a festering wound. Kalen, the boy Gregor bullied, has become a clever, swift scout, using his small size to navigate places the larger warriors cannot. He brought me another stone yesterday, this one striped like a badger's back. And then there is Kale. In the quiet moments, in the space between our public duties, what we have built is my sanctuary. It is a connection that needs no grand declarations. It is in the way he brings me a warm drink after a long council meeting, the way our shoulders brush as we walk, the way a single look from him can steady my frayed nerves. The golden thread is no longer a fragile tether. It is a cable of woven steel, the strongest thing in my life. On this first snowy morning, the pack gathers for a new ritual, one I instituted, the first snow ceremony. It is not a show of dominance or strength. It is a simple gathering to acknowledge the turning of the season, to give thanks for the harvest, and to reaffirm our bonds before the long winter. We stand in a large circle in the main clearing, young and old, strong and weak, loyalist and reformist. Thorin stands at the northern point of the circle. Kale stands at the southern. And I, the Omega, stand at the eastern point, where the sun rises. The geometry is deliberate, the triad, surrounding and supporting the whole pack. Thorin begins, his voice strong and clear, carrying over the hushed, snow-muffled landscape. He speaks of the pack's history, of the strength of our ancestors, of the challenges we have faced and overcome. It is a traditional speech, but for the first time, it lacks its former edge of pure aggression. There is a note of reflection. Then it is Kale's turn. He speaks of loyalty, not the blind loyalty to an alpha, but the active, chosen loyalty to one another. The loyalty of the warrior to the cook who feeds him, of the hunter to the elder who taught him, of the beater who bridges the gap between strength and wisdom. His words are practical, grounded, and they resonate with the pack's core sense of honor. All eyes then turn to me. The snow falls gently on my hair and shoulders. I look out at the faces of my pack. I see the doubters, the believers, the wounded, the hopeful. I feel their collective emotion, a swirling mix of anxiety, pride, caution, and a fragile, tentative hope. I do not speak of power or strategy. I speak of the heart. The first snow reminds us that endings are also beginnings, I say, my voice soft but carrying to every ear. It covers the scars of the past year, giving us a clean slate. It asks us to be still, to listen, to remember what is truly important. I let my gaze sweep over them. We have been through fire this year. We have faced poison, and fear, and the threat of war. We have argued, and we have struggled. But we are still here. We are still a pack. I touch the pendant at my throat, feeling its familiar, comforting weight. The Sylvan Sentinels did not come to me because I was powerful. They came because our pack's heart was failing. They came because we had forgotten that a body cannot live with a stilled heart. My role is not to rule you. It is to remind you. To feel with you. To help this pack's heart beat strong and true. Again, I see tears in the eyes of some of the mothers. I see thoughtful nods from some of the warriors. I see Gregor, his arms crossed, but he is listening, his brow furrowed not in anger, but in contemplation. This winter, let us not just be a pack that survives, I conclude, my voice swelling with a passion that comes from the deepest, most truthful part of me. Let us be a pack that thrives. Let our strength be in our unity. Let our loyalty be to each other's well-being. And let our wisdom guide us to a future where no wolf among us has to howl alone in the cold. I raise my face to the falling snow, and I howl. It is not the commanding howl of an alpha, nor the strategic howl of a beta. It is the pure, clear, resonant howl of the heart. A howl of belonging, of hope, of a love so vast it encompasses every single soul in the circle. For a heartbeat, there is silence. Then, Thorin tilts his head back and answers, his deep bass howl joining mine. A second later, Kale's strong tenor weaves between ours. And then, one by one, then in groups, then as a single, thunderous chorus, the entire Frostfang pack joins the song. The loyalists, the reformists, the young, the old. Their howls rise together, a complex, beautiful harmony that shakes the snow from the pine branches and echoes against the mountains. It is a sound of healing. It is a sound of acceptance. As the last notes fade into the silent, snow-filled air, I look across the circle at Kale. His eyes are on me, and in them, I see a future. A difficult future, yes, filled with challenges and setbacks. But a future we will build together. The first snow continues to fall, covering the territory in a blanket of peaceful white. The journey is far from over. Liana's shadow still lingers. The Shadow Fang pack still watches. But as I stand with my pack, their unified song still ringing in my soul, I know one thing for certain. The heart of the Frostfang pack is beating again. And it is strong. Like, subscribe, and comment for part 2.